Welcome all to the Snail Trail 4x4 podcast. If you like going off-roading in Toyotas, wrenching on Toyotas, camping in Toyotas, and maybe even poking a little bit of fun at Toyotas, and of course, hearing about how great Toyota axles are under LJs, then this is the podcast for you. That's right, ladies and germs. I said LJs. And that's where we're going to leave it for today. But this is a very special episode of Snail Trail 4x4. This is episode 375. And we may have goofed. We realized this doing the interview. But joining me for 375 is a couple of people. But one that we're going to start with here is Mr. Jimmy Jett. How are you doing, buddy?
I'm doing good.
Nice.
Yeah, very well.
Yeah.
Thanks for asking. How are you?
Doing pretty good myself.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
Yeah.
Glad to hear it.
Yeah, man. Things are going along. We have a really fun episode today.
Yeah,
for
we do.
Thursday's episode. We invited a gentleman over to the studio, and he still doesn't know why he's here.
Nope.
But
no clue.
No clue why he's here, and now he's giving us a weird look. But
he's a little confused himself why he's here.
He is a little confused. Don't worry, you'll figure it out soon. So yeah, we'll get to that in a little bit. First, though, we need to get through a little bit of the housekeeping stuff. We'll keep it nice, sweet, and quick for everybody because I think we're going to have some fun conversations with this gentleman. Yeah, I know. It's okay. Don't worry about it. So yeah, we have a giveaway, as always, for the month of February going on, which is a bunch of really cool stuff from Lawless Corey announcing his new transition with all the new wares that he's going to be repping and putting out there for everybody that we will get to talk about and kind of compare and contrast versus some other things that we have and tell everybody about how all these different things are. So in this kind of first starter kit is a bunch of different lights from Coast Lighting. Big fan of them all. I believe all of them are USB-C recharging.
Yeah, I believe they are, which is something we strive for. We do really like the rechargeable stuff and a single cord for all your applications.
Yep. Yeah, it's really nice. And then some Walter abrasives, which are some really beefy things.
Yeah, there's a cutoff wheel, there's a flapper disc and a grinding wheel, and then a plethora of them. I don't know how many of each, but there's those three styles in there. Yeah,
there's some really good options there. I'm really impressed with their flapper discs, man. Those things are...
Have you used it?
Not yet.
Oh, yeah. Just
because I didn't get to steal any from that day. But yeah, they are super girthy. And then a couple of things from T-Rex tape.
Oh, yeah.
Including some slider tape for people.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I need to get some of that.
So anyways, a really cool little starter package from Lawless Corey, valuing about $250 for a lucky winner. So in order to get on that, you guys know what to do. Just head over to irate4x4.com and get signed up under the Snail Trail 4x4 forum there from the homepage. So
exactly.
Yeah. Let's see. What else do we got? We are coming down to the end of the month. So make sure that you guys are signed up for any of that. Coming up in April. So we have about 30 days here.
March.
About 35 days until April.
Oh, sure.
Gift boxes are going to be opening back up.
Got it.
So put that on your calendar if anybody's interested in those. Let's see. What else do we got?
We also have reviews that we're always counting. And there's a bunch of those that are going on. Last time I think we looked, we were 459. So we can grow a little bit more there. But once we get to 500, we're giving away that winch. And then I think we're doing a runner-up as well, just in case the first one doesn't get back to us in a certain amount of time. But the runner-up will give out a swag pack too, regardless. And let's see. I don't know of anything else really besides those.
Cool. Let's get over to this gentleman here then, and let's figure out why he's here.
I like it.
Jimmy and I are grinning over here because we know why he's here, but he still doesn't know why he's here.
No.
All right. Let's take a quick break, and then we'll be right on back with none other than Senor Little Bakken himself, the younger of the Bakkens from High Sierra 4x4 days. I know. We'll put your microphone in right now once we get back. All right. Ready for break?
Ready.
Ready and break.
At 4-Wheel Underground, we don't do DIY kits. With 26 years of experience, we've designed and engineered suspension geometry for maximum performance and predictability on and off-road, so that you don't have to. Check out 4-Wheel Underground to find the best engineered Toyota suspension solutions at 4wheelunderground.com.
Well, welcome back, ladies and gentle ladies. We are here today at the new Snail Trail 4x4 podcast studio with a special guest. Jimmy's here, of course. You guys know Jimmy, but who do
I
we
thought
have?
I was the special guest.
No, I mean, you're special.
That's true.
But you're
Definitely special.
Whoa, who's that voice? Blast from the past. Who do we have here with us, Jimmy?
We got Mr. Greg Bakken. Welcome to the new studio.
Well, thanks for having me.
Yeah.
I appreciate it. It's very lovely in here.
Yeah.
It's a little
Yeah.
Beats a
dull
kitchen
still.
table.
Yeah.
We had you over that one time? It was like one of our first 50 episodes, I think. 100
Potentially.
somewhere in that range.
I mean, I'm all about recording around kitchen tables
Uh-huh.
or wherever, sitting on the couch or whatever it may be. But
You're sitting on a couch now.
yeah, that's true. Yes, I am.
Here at the Snail Trail 4x4 podcast, we make you comfortable.
That's what they keep telling me. I've yet to feel it though.
The odor of gear oil doesn't do it for you.
No, yeah. So I did for the listeners. I don't know if people are familiar, but there is a lot of parts in here. Apparently, you guys have sent them all in. So the studio has a strange aroma to it, and it sounds like gear oil.
Mm-hmm. I think gear oil is a fantastic smell. So
Yeah,
You need to just shoot it all down with PB Blaster.
yeah. It does smell good.
it
Reminds me of my brother's place. But anyway,
always smelled like gear oil too.
Yes, always. The carpet's not stained in here yet, though. But you guys will get there.
We'll get there. Give us time.
We'll work on it.
No, that's
Uh,
cool.
Pretty much brand new.
Yeah. So no, this is nice, you guys, and congratulations to Tyler and Jimmy. You can be congratulated too. I don't know what for, but you guys have a very nice studio, new warehouse.
Uh-huh.
I like it.
Yeah. So we're curious.
Yes.
The big question is, do you still remember how to do this?
I don't know. We'll find out.
We'll find out. As
We'll
we
see
get
how much
to-
editing we have to do.
We'll talk to Jimmy afterwards. Hey, did you cut? How much minutes did you cut out?
Sure.
Yeah. All of it.
Yeah. I always joke I could talk to a brick wall. So,
Mhm.
I mean, like,
Yeah,
we're
we'll-
good.
We'll find
Yeah.
out.
You guys just ask me a question. We'll keep going. No, but yes, no, it feels good to be back on a podcast. So I appreciate you guys, taking the time to invite me down and to come record because it does bring back. This is my heart, right? This is this is what I enjoy doing and stuff, talking four-wheeling and all that fun stuff.
Yeah.
So it's cool to do it.
Yeah.
That's cool. You had been asking before we were recording. You're all, what are we here to talk about today? Why are we here? Why ask me down today? And we actually do have a specific reason for it.
Oh,
that
really?
we haven't told you.
Okay, fair enough. No, I was really interested because I was kind of like, last time I was talking with Tyler before this, but I'm like, I think we stopped recording in like 2018. I don't even fully know. I probably should have done some research on my own stuff, but yeah. So I was like, I've really been kind of out of the four-wheeling world a little bit. Like, I've kind of dabbled in it, and ran into some stuff and I pay attention online, but for the grand schemes of like actually getting out there and like wheeling, get my tires dirty, like it's pretty far and few between. So I was like, man, you guys really must be hurting for content to invite Greg down to talk about
Have
something.
Greg come on the podcast. Well, really, we were trying to get Jeff on,
Sure.
but he's not local.
He's
so
definitely the cooler one out of the two of us. I'm just teasing.
No, we actually wanted to have you on because we were noticing the other day that you guys, High Sierra 4x4 podcast ended on episode 373.
374.
That's what I thought we had seen too, but it shows right now 373.
Really?
What does it say the last one is?
Are we ever coming back?
Oh.
That's 373.
That's 373.
I wonder what the answer to that is.
When was it? Does it have the date?
3 years ago, 8/18/19. So
Wow.
There you go.
Now
August 18th, 2019.
we probably took a break prior to that last episode, but that's interesting. So yeah.
Yeah, the one before it where it was the Toyota Boys Farewell was April 29th, 2019. So about 3.5 months later
Yeah.
was the final episode that shows up on High Sierra 4x4 podcast, the feed there. So we had thought it was 374.
Yeah.
Oh.
And this episode right here is 375 for us.
Nice.
So we wanted to celebrate by having you back on. So we can be like, we made it.
We beat it.
We win.
That's funny. I was going to make some jokes like before getting on the show. I was like, oh, you guys are trying to like, I don't know, maybe you're hurting for listeners. So you thought you'd revive the old podcast, the OG podcast, the best podcast. But then anyway, but I'm like, we weren't the best or the OG. So I mean, like, I don't know.
But you had a lot of episodes.
Well, yeah, thank you. We did have a lot of episodes. Yes. And it's fascinating looking like at the four-wheeling world because I don't want to take credit for anything because I don't know who has credit, but like, you know, obviously there's some other podcasts out there. We won't name them all because they don't pay us. So, but like, there is like an OG podcast that's been around for a long time, but like, I don't know if they've gone anywhere. I don't have a lot of insight into them. You don't hear a lot of people talk about them or anything like that. But then like, you know, and then Jeff and I did, you know, some podcasting for another group, you know, or network or whatever. And then that's when we kind of delved onto our own. So like, in theory, we've done, you know, together, Jeff and I've done more podcast episodes than that, not to like steal the rain or anything, but like obviously in one setting under one show, like you guys are obviously have taken the lead now.
We're not counting any of the ones that we did on the HS4 4x4.
Okay, sure.
Our previous network.
Yeah, definitely.
Previous show that's not paying us.
Yeah, speaking of not paying, but no, that's funny. So
no, it was really cool. What you guys did though with HS4 4x4, you really set, I think, a pretty high standard for off-roading podcasts.
Well, thank you.
And the content was awesome. The quality was a standard setting quality, in my opinion. And when you guys, when life kind of took over and you couldn't do the podcast anymore, I think it left a really big hole in the off-road podcast world.
Yeah.
I mean, I know of at least 4 podcasts, off-road podcasts that popped up because HS4 4x4 stopped.
Yeah, you know, it's interesting. I kind of observed that as well, and I appreciate the accolades. Is that the right word? I'm trying to use higher education words.
Yeah. You have to get those brain juices working again.
More letters than I know what to do with.
Yeah, yeah. But no,
how many points in Scrabble would that one be?
That's a good question. No, but it is interesting. Like taking a back seat, and like, you know, we felt like we had a lot of momentum with the podcast. You know, and like, man, we could really like do some stuff, and like started talking with you guys, you know, as well. And then like, I think Tyler even had, you know, you too, Jimmy, I'm sure. I don't want to give him all the credit, but you know, had some, you know, some great visions of like where the podcast could go and stuff. And so like, you know, we talked about, you know, potentially, you know, Tyler taking over HS4 4x4 or whatever, you know, and stuff. And it's like, and it's cool to see that you guys went out on your own and are still doing it. And like, and I did wonder, cause like, that was one of the big goals that we had was like, let's set the audio. I felt like audio was always terrible for a lot of the off-road podcasts. And I'm like, let's raise the audio standard a little bit. And like, I don't think it's difficult, but that's like why Jeff and I hardly ever did like a lot of interviews. Cause it was hard to get like, you want people to come into the studio, like, right. You get the best quality that way and stuff. And I think the best interaction with the listeners as well. And the guests, but it was cool to like, I don't know. It was like kind of a compliment, pat on the back, like when we stopped, and then, all these other podcasts kind of started popping up and stuff. And I was like, oh, that's cool. But anyway, so it's nice. Hopefully, you know, people may consider us a stepping stone in the podcast realm for off-road podcasts, but it'll be cool to see what you guys can do and take it into the future. And I'm assuming, I know there's another podcast out there that you guys work hand in hand with that thinks they're really good, but I've never listened to any of their episodes. So yeah.
I don't know. It's been really interesting because like, I don't know if you knew this, but there was one point we got a year into Snail Trail 4x4 and HS4 4x4 was still trending on the charts.
Really?
Higher than like any other show.
Wow.
And we were like, that's bullshit. That was anything in a year.
People are still listening to them.
That's funny.
Yeah.
I did not know that. I mean, in all honesty, like I've lost, and I feel bad. So anybody that listens, you know, to you guys that was a former fan of the HS4 4x4 podcast, and maybe they've emailed us or anything, like I apologize because I don't even have access to my email anymore. Like I've lost all that stuff. And like, you know, you're kind of paying for hosting stuff. And then you kind of like, I was wondering if our podcast even like
was still out there.
It's still out there basically. And it is. I mean, you can still check it out, but it was funny. Yeah. Cause it's like our website, I don't think really works anymore. And like, the email's like gone. And so I'm like, I felt bad cause for years, cause I was like, people probably have like emailed random questions or something from following up from potentially listening, but I don't even have my Lipson login to like figure out like what our audio number, the numbers are potentially for listeners or in any of that stuff. So I kind of feel bad about it, but for those of you still listening out there, I appreciate you.
Yeah. Well, they've got to get through all 373 episodes of the High Sierra and then 374 episodes of Snail Trail in order to get to this episode.
I know.
To learn that they're appreciated now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's funny. Well, if you hear this and you listen to all the 374 episodes or 3 episodes of the High Sierra 4x4 podcast, send me a message on Instagram and I'll say thank you.
What is your Instagram for those that?
That's a great question. I should include that, huh? See, I am rusty. I think it's at Greg Bakken, and you spell my last name Bakken. But
nice.
You could go to High Sierra 4x4, also the podcast, the Instagram account, which is HS4x4. Which I do have a little beef I got to share for a second, but before I get there, but you can go to the High Sierra 4x4 podcast Instagram HS4x4. I still have access to that. So,
nice. Okay, good.
I've thought about updating that, but then I was like, everyone's going to think that the podcast is like, up to date, and it's not. But anyway, but no, there's a dude that like, I'm not, I shouldn't even talk about it cause it's just going to give him credit. But like, there's always like, there's a High Sierra 4x4 Instagram. And it's like, I think you guys probably even follow him or know who he is.
I don't know who he is. I've seen the truck out and about every once in a while, but every time I see it, I think, oh, Greg posted something.
Yeah.
I'm like, no, that's not Greg. Never mind.
I need to do a cease and desist letter.
Yeah.
Like stop posting under us. And you're a Toyota. So I'm just teasing, but anyway.
Are you?
No, but I have to say that for the sake of things. No, maybe he's a listener. We don't know.
We don't know.
But you're stealing our fame and you're going with it. No, I'm just kidding. So anyway.
Yeah. How's life been? Because like, I don't think anybody in the podcasting world has heard from you in like 3 years, 4 years now.
Yeah. I mean, the last time I was with you guys, I haven't really been on any podcasts since then. Jeff and I have like thought about doing like an update podcast just for anybody that might still be subscribed to our feed. Like, just to let them know, like, hey, we're still alive and like, this is where we're at. And like, cause we've always joked about like potentially bringing it back at some point, like when life calmed down a little bit, but no. So I quit podcasting when I had my first daughter, her name's Blakely, but she's 4 now. So she's getting old. And then I have a second daughter whose name is Parker and she's 2. And so life has just been super busy in that sense of like being a dad and trying to figure it out. And so anybody that has kids, going from 1 to 2 was a really big challenge. Like 1, you're like, oh, we got this. Like
we can figure this out.
There's 2 of us. Like we outnumber them. Like we can take her if she gets wild. But then like, you get number 2 and then it's like, wait, I'm going to go take a break or my wife's going to go take a break and I got 2 kids. Like I can't do all the same thing, and stuff. And so anyway, so having 2 is really challenging. And so obviously there's people out there that are probably better at having kids than I am, but I'm not great at herding cats by any means. So they've been a handful, and then just trying to, give the wife a break and be a good husband and like not just go to work and come home and like go 4-wheeling or do whatever. And so, that's been pretty challenging.
Wrong.
Yeah.
It's wrong. Jimmy
I'm not going to say it's wrong. I just don't know that it's right. But
are you thinking about a third one at all and get outnumbered?
That's a great question. I shared a little bit on my podcast about just our infertility journey and stuff and that aspect. And so, infertility is an issue. And so I don't think that my wife would naturally carry a second or a third child by any means. And so, our second kid's by surrogacy, which means it's complicated. I don't know if I shared it that much, but actually I probably haven't shared that on the show, but so my wife's sister carried our second baby.
Oh,
so,
wow.
I don't know. Did you guys even know that?
No, I didn't know that.
So it's probably TMI, but you know what? I'm an open book about it because it's not, a lot of people don't talk about it. But so, we went through like IVF process, introvert, I don't know what it stands for. Google it.
Yeah.
But you end up with little embryos and stuff. And so then my wife, like after multiple miscarriages, we couldn't carry. So then like we thought, what are we going to do with all these embryos? And like my wife, we're just kind of, she had 4 miscarriages and we're like, we're not going to be able to probably, have her carry. And so then one of her sisters like volunteered. And so anyway, so that's kind
pretty
of an
awesome
interesting
of the
process.
sister.
Yeah.
It is. Yeah. So my daughter's middle name is Ashley's sister's name also in like her honor. So
Wow, that's cool.
no, it was a cool, very cool and weird process because like you're like, you know, it's your kid, but it's like being pushed out of another lady and like, you know, anyway. So it's just, it's interesting, but no,
Probably weren't allowed in the room.
I was allowed in the room, which
weird.
was interesting as well. So it's like, that's what I mean by it's interesting. Cause it's like, you're like, I'm just going to sit over here and like, wait for it till I hear a crying baby, you know? And I'm like, wait, does your husband know I'm here? Cause she is married also and has her own kids. And so, and the ironic thing is his name is Greg as well. So it's a very
damn it, Greg, you did this to me.
It's a very weird family. No. So yeah. So like I've joked about like her potentially caring for us again. Cause like we've always, Ash and I both have envisioned having a third child, but I don't know. My sister, I have an older sister who's adopted. So we thought about adopting as well. And so anyway, we'll see.
Okay.
If the podcast world takes off for me and I can have, you know, extra financial support, then yeah, well, maybe we'll go that realm.
Work from home as a 100% podcaster, professional podcaster.
Yeah, that'd be great. My primary goal is to be a professional paintballer, but podcasting is second.
Really? Were you into paintballing?
Yes, I was. But
Didn't we talk about this not too long ago?
Did we?
How you were telling me about your gun and I said I had like a Tippmann Pro Eagle or something like that, more of the rifle style. And
I don't think we talked about Greg's paintballing.
No, not
though.
Greg's.
No.
We just
you and I were.
Did you have an angel?
I did have an angel.
Lucky guess.
Yeah, I had an autococker forever that I really enjoyed, and then I did get an angel later on in life, and then I had a Timmy as well, or Intimidator, I think is what they're called, but they call them Timmies.
I have the Bob Long Intimidator.
Yeah. Bob Long. I know. So you're right. Like Bob Long did a lot of great things. He made Burfields and paintball guns.
Yeah.
Although, do they even make Longfields anymore? Like,
And Trail Gear bottom.
that's what I thought.
So they're all just Trail Gears now.
You guys would know. I wouldn't know. But anyway, yeah. So I still have my paintball gear. I don't know why, but
I have
someday.
I have mine too. Let's go out and do a paintball.
Let's go get embarrassed.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Wow.
No, total sidetrack and nothing to do with four wheeling, which is
That's
what
fine.
this podcast episode is probably going to be about because I've done zilch when it comes to four wheeling. But it is funny because like I did competitive paintballing for a little while, and like I had a friend who like joined our team and we joined this league and stuff, and we're like, oh, we're gonna do this paintball thing.
Were you
and
doing
like,
speedball or woodball?
it was a speedball style setup, and
5, 7s.
it was 5.
Okay.
And so actually I take that back. It was 4. And so it was weird. It was like, it was kind of newish, but anyway. And so like, it was me and a buddy, and then we got my friend and his brother-in-law to like play. So we had a team of 4, and we were like, so we played 2 tournaments, but it was like an 8 game season or whatever. And, then like season or game 3, I almost called it episode 3. He was like, hey, we can't play, you know, like we're out, like we won't be able to do it, like whatever. I'm like, oh, okay, that's lame. And so we didn't play.
You didn't finish it.
We didn't finish.
Yeah.
Well, then the game 4 came around. And we're like, well, let's just go watch. We get there and our paintball team's name was Outcasts, which is cool. I know. Right. But, anyway. And so we get there and we're like, wait, on the roster, there's a team by the name of Outcasts. And we're like, what in the world's going on? Well, it's my buddy with his brother-in-law and 2 other dudes. They stole our name and our points.
Oh, wow.
We confronted them.
Oh my God.
Yeah, we confronted them. We're like, what are you doing? And they're like, oh, we thought you guys said you couldn't play anymore. We're like, no, you said you couldn't play. And so like, we weren't able to play because like, we didn't have enough players.
People,
and so anyway, I'm still bitter about it. So
I can tell.
if your name's Patrick and you played on the Outcast, you know who you are. But anyway.
Wow.
Don't come calling.
Yeah.
Seriously.
Anyway,
If
so
you come by, you might be covered in
exactly.
What was your color?
You know, that's a good question. I always liked I really like neon green, but like it just never really worked. I don't know. You're talking like paint color, right? Yeah. Neon green was good, but then I had to switch to pink so you could see it.
I was always yellow.
Yellow, nice. Yeah, that's cool. Yeah. Anyway, we could digress we digress. So we should get back to non-paintball talk.
I mean, we could keep talking about paintball.
I don't have anything to say, but
that's
anyway.
fun. That's cool. I never knew you were into paintballing.
Yeah. So I always joked about like wanting to be a paintball because like they had the Ironmen. I don't know. Like everybody kind of knew who the Ironmen were back in the day. And so like, I don't know. And then they have like Dynasty and like all these paintball teams and stuff. Yeah. And so I'm like, I don't know. I even did some reffing like way back in the day, like for paintballing and stuff.
Wow.
And anyway, not it's stupid, but I still have my gear. None of my compressed air tanks are up to date. So I got to get all those.
Yeah. I got to redo those.
That's the problem is like, you're like, oh, I got all my gear. Let's go paintballing. And they're like, wait, my tanks are all out of date. So you get them recertified and then you play like one time over the 3 years that the certification is good for. And it's like, it's a waste of time, money, and effort.
Yeah. Buddy of mine borrowed my air tank and my hopper for a tournament and never gave him back. And I haven't seen him or talked to him ever since. So I'm like, I'm down my air tank and my hoppers now.
Yeah. I'm sorry.
Yeah, me too.
Sorry to hear that. So
I probably
It's a
saw
rough time.
paintballs in my tub.
yeah,
Oh,
probably still
like
do.
They're all
marbles
They're
now.
all
Yeah.
dented. So now they go,
Yeah.
woo,
That's
fly out.
funny. Yeah.
Well, cool. So, paintballer extraordinaire over here, Greg,
That's
is
me.
going to be into his next profession. I will give you a little bit of, I guess, hope, maybe not hope, but podcasting is still not paying. So,
Oh.
yeah, it's may
Fair
kill your
enough.
hope. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
No, I kind of.
I was like, you're not invited him to the podcast, are you?
Yeah.
What hope are you giving him?
I know podcasts. Yeah. Well, it's funny because like I joked at the beginning of before recording, about Jimmy not video, doing YouTube videos. And that's one of the things I always wondered. Like, I'm like, should we have dove into like making YouTube videos? Because I feel like YouTube, like, there's tons of people out there that just like vlog stupid stuff. And I'm like,
Yeah.
and I'm kind of surprised, like Tyler, you don't like vlog or anything about like what you're doing with More Flat.
I can't.
I keep calling it More Flat, More Flate. Sorry, but
I can't do the editing, man.
Sure.
I don't have any patience for
Right.
editing.
I get that.
But like, I think if you guys had at the time during
Sure.
when you guys had the podcast up and running, I think you guys would have made done a good job
yeah.
with it. So
Well, thanks.
It would have been one of the newer or one of the first podcasts kind of doing that.
Sure.
Like back then, there was nobody doing
Yeah.
any videos in podcasting or working on their rigs,
Right.
filming that, doing
Right.
video content for that, and then podcasting about
Right.
that as well.
mhm.
Nobody was doing that at the time.
Yeah. And that's kind of like what we wanted, not specifically recording the podcast so much, but yeah, videoing like our builds and like all the stuff that we were doing along the way, which like, we kind of regret doing or whatever, but like, it is interesting because we have, a YouTube channel and like, it's still like is producing probably similar to you, is like still produces views. And there is, we do earn some money on it. Obviously we're not,
Yeah, you're not
my
retired.
Jeep's not built yet.
Yeah.
so- but,
Yeah, I haven't made a video almost a year, I
But-
would say.
yeah.
And I'm still pulling in about the same amount of subscribers a month as
Wow.
what I was over a year ago.
That's awesome. Yeah.
It's
I honestly,
weird.
I go back and watch some of your videos, not all of them, but some of them.
Really?
But-
Why?
Why?
I enjoy like your trail review videos. Like, when you're like cabin fever and you can't get out there in 4-wheel. So I'm like,
Yeah.
dude, you guys like don't even know, like half my YouTube like subscriptions are all just to like, stupid trail videos. And like
Go
nobody
watch
really,
Fordyce.
yeah,
or
like,
something.
yeah, Fordyce or like, no, I think you have one on Slick Rock that you guys did with like Power Tank and stuff or whatever. And like, I really enjoy going and watching that one. And like, I don't know if you have another one at, you did a Barrett Lake one. Like
Yep.
I go watch that one, cause it's like, oh, I'd love to get out on Barrett Lake, but I can't, or, just doing trail reviews in general. And I think that's why, there's I can't think of his name right now, but there's a dude that does like kind of, it's not, I don't want to talk bad about it. Cause I think he's definitely found a niche and a fill, he's filling it, but, what's his name? He kind of does a lot of overland videos. He's an older Navy guy.
Oh, is that
Oh.
Trail Recon?
Trail Recon. Yeah.
Yeah.
So like he is doing YouTube video stuff like on just basic trail trips. Like he's just living his retirement, recording it, and like,
yeah.
I mean, he's got tons of views, through that and stuff. And like, I watch his stuff and it's like, part of me is like, oh, it's kind of, it's not hardcore by any means, but it's like, I don't know. It's cool.
It's
fun.
living vicariously through him kind
It
of
is.
thing. Yeah.
Exactly.
Did you
So-
ever get to make it out to Barrett Lake before you sold your Jeep?
You mean outside of the time that we ruined your trip?
Uh-huh. Yeah.
No, I haven't. And so that's another whole wormhole that we can go down. But no, I do, Tyler, always feel bad about that trip because I'm like, for those that don't know, like Jeff and I, my brother, who's a loser, but he's on the podcast with me. And when I say losers, because he ruined our trip. And then like, it was just interesting. So my brother drives a full size Dodge. It's on 40s, Atlas or whatever. It may have been on 42s, I think then. I don't know.
He was on the pit bulls. Yeah.
Yeah. He bounces around on tires. So, and then it was like I feel like it was like kind of our first trip with you, really.
I think. Yeah.
And then you had your buddy there who had a really nice TJ. And then I had my JK. My JK is on 40s and you had your 4Runner and which everybody kind of knows about. But so like you get into Barrett and like, I was so excited. Like Barrett's like one of those trips or trails that like, I feel like you always want to do, but like you can never time it right. Cause it's like hardly ever open. And then it like closes like sporadically.
Such a
like,
short season on it.
Yeah. And then it was closed for a long time cause they were doing repairs to it and stuff. And so anyway, you know, and we finally had the chance to get out there and do it. And then like, you know, frickin' Tyler challenges Jeff like at the first like little buggy line area. And he's like, oh, Jeff, you're not supposed to follow us. You're supposed to go through the buggy lines, you know, and my brother can't, you know, stand down from a challenge. And so I'm like, Jimmy, you know, and I even gave him like the pep talk before we got there. Like, let's do this trail because like I've never done it. So like, let's make it all the way through, you know, to the lake. Like anyway, cause I've been on the trail multiple times, but I've never made it to the lake anyway. So yeah. So long story short, you know, Jeff ended up breaking what we thought was a hub, pulled, you know, kind of winched himself off, got it fixed. And then we like made it like halfway around the rock pile. And then the Atlas started, you know, being funky. And so anyway, so the Atlas broke, which was his second Atlas. And so then he was like, you got to tow me out. Have we talked about anyway, but
I don't know. It's a great story still. So
I laugh because I'm like, I don't want to pull you out. Like, I'm like, you're the doofus. Like, and his trunk is dead in the water. And I'm like in my mind thinking like maybe Jimmy or what's your buddy's name?
John.
I was like, maybe John will pull him out in his TJ. And you both like look at us like we both have like 4 and 6 cylinders. And like you've got 1 tons and 40s, Greg, and your Jeep has more horsepower than either of ours. And I'm like, yeah, they're kind of right. And he's your brother. Like, yeah, I guess I got to pull him out. So anyway, so then I like go to pull him out, which my Jeep, I mean, I don't know. My Jeep pulled him fine, but it's like pulling a dead weight full size truck through the trail is like, it's not fun.
It's
like
not fun. It's not easy.
Yeah. And so I had like death wobble issues like ever since after that. Like I had to go replay. Like, I don't know what it was. Cause then we got down to the freeway, you know, and finally got him towed, you know, back to the house or whatever. But I had to like stop and like re-air up my tires. I thought maybe my tires weren't aired up all right. But I'm like, I've never had death wobble in my Jeep. And anyway, ever since then I was like chasing death wobble. I ended up having to take it, get all the tie rod ends replaced on it and stuff. And I smashed the steering stabilizer. So we replaced that. But anyway, eventually kind of got it squared away. But that was probably kind of like the final, that was like the last trip I think I really did.
That was one of the last trips. Yeah.
Yeah. Cause like I may have done a smaller, easier trail called Strawberry like once or twice after that. But then, yeah. And then I ended up ultimately selling my Jeep, which people probably don't know. I mean, they might know if they follow me or pay attention, but yeah, at the beginning of COVID, you know, like we talked about for 2019, like my wife, she didn't like officially get laid off, but we were having our second kid. And so she was like gonna, you know, quit her job, but then, you know, COVID hit. So it was like, oh, we got laid off. Not that we were playing the system like Jimmy, but doing our best. No, I'm just kidding. But anyway, so yeah. So then she quit. And so then I was like, man, I should probably sell my Jeep. Like it's got a lot of money here. Who knows what the market's going to do? Like whatever. And so like I sold it and then like things went crazy.
Things
like,
shot up
right after
afterwards.
that. Yeah. And it's like, I kind of regret selling it. Like, I don't know. I mean, I'll be honest. I cried a little bit when I sold it, but, and I've been trying to keep an eye out because I'm like, it's still around our area. So I'm like,
really?
Yeah, I can't, like I've had people tell me they've seen it, but I haven't officially seen it anywhere.
I haven't seen it either anywhere, but I haven't really been looking for it. I just figured it got sold outside of the area.
No, it's, well, as far as I know, and I've been kind of watching to see if it like pops up for sale again, but it hasn't.
Could you contact? You don't have the, person's info?
You would think I would have kept that, but we messaged back and forth like a little bit, and I've told him like stay in touch with me if you had any questions or anything, like you know, or something seems weird or whatever, like hit me up, like whatever. But then I haven't really made the effort to like go through my messenger I sold it through Facebook, and so I didn't really like go through my messengers to try to find him, and he didn't have like an open profile or anything, and I didn't friend him, and I don't know, whatever. And then part of me is like, you don't really want to, like, maybe it's best if I don't know, like, who knows? So
what happened to it? He just took the axles and trashed the rest of it.
He was a Toyota guy. Yeah. He was a Toyota guy and had a Toyota. And then he said that it wasn't street legal though. And it was like tubed out and flatbed and all that stuff. And so he's like, was looking for something that like they could cruise to the Rubicon, do the Rubicon, and then cruise home in. I'm like, this is the perfect Jeep for it. But so anyway,
Do you remember going through Gatekeeper on that Barrett Lake trip?
Yes.
Do you want to describe that from your point of view? Because I think I've told that story before from my point of view, which was hilarious.
Well, was it me getting frustrated?
Yes,
Is that the yeah?
Jeff.
So like, yeah, because I don't know. Like one of my other claim to fame. This is another side note, but like, I tried you try to put out this. Not that it really matters because it was just the four of us on this trail or whatever. But like, I'm on the History Channel. They did like a Moab special, and my Jeep is on there because Dana was part of it, and so like there was a section. It's on my Instagram if anybody really wants to care, but it's like, it's my claim to fame that like I made it onto national TV. But we were wheeling through Metal Masher. We were coming out of Metal Masher, and Dana was coming in, and they were filming with the History Channel. And so the dude at the time for Dana was one of our sponsors, and like we knew him. And so he's like, oh, film this Jeep. He's got the Ultimate Dana 60s on it. It's like push for them. And so like I'm coming through and stuff, like doing good. And then like I totally stall. Like right in the middle of it. Right. And it's like, that's where the footage cuts. Like I'm like going and then like stall and it cuts. And anyway, but why that reminds me of the Barrett, the Gatekeeper scenario. I don't know why, but going into Gatekeepers kind of like, or into Barrett through the Gatekeepers, like kind of tricky, but it's not super hard, but if you don't know the line, like it can be. And like, we were there probably like a month before our trip and I was riding with a friend. I don't know why I didn't drive my Jeep at the time, but anyway, and we were riding and there was a big hole. He has a similar built Jeep like mine, the Ultimate Dana 60s and stuff at the time. But he was on like 38-inch tires and I'm running 40s. And so I was like, anyway, he got stuck in this hole, like right at Gatekeeper. And I'm like, and we had to like, I don't know what, he ended up having to get winched out or something, which is kind of embarrassing because you have like this built Jeep, and then like the little Samurai on 33s comes cruising through behind him and like, no problem. Right. And you're like,
smaller vehicles can get through there super easy.
I agree.
Yeah.
And so like going into Gatekeeper, first of all, I told my brother, I'm like, he was all excited. Like he loves to like pull his phone out and try to film. And I'm like, don't film me. Just spot me through. Like there's a hole there. I don't want to put my tire in this hole. Like we're going to get stuck. And he's like, no, you'll be fine. Like I'll be focused. And then like, so I'm kind of doing the line. He's like half spotting me and I see like his phone come out and he's like half trying to film, half spot. And like, sure enough, I go like literally straight into the hole.
Right where he said, I don't want to be.
And I'm like, this is exactly where I didn't want to be. And like, that's why I said my brother's an idiot, and I say that with love, but I mean it. And so it was frustrating. I think I didn't have to winch, right? Like, I don't remember.
I don't think we got you backed up enough to get a rock under there and get you out of the hole. But it was just funny because I'm standing kind of behind Jeff, watching him pull his phone out of his pocket. And I'm like, oh, he's going to film it. Okay. After Greg specifically asked not to. And then sure, I was like, Greg's kind of going towards that. He's going to, oh no, Greg's in the hole. All right. And Jeff the whole time was like, you're doing good. You're doing good.
It's good content for the show. Yeah. But
that's pretty funny.
It's an interesting spot. But anyway, so I have aspirations now. We're not really talking about it at the moment, but are you guys goal setters by any means? Like at the beginning of the year, we're in February now, but like in January, January 1st, did you guys like sit down and write your goals down for the year?
No.
Losers.
I didn't.
I'm just kidding. And that's
I never succeed.
You never succeed. That's the attitude we're looking for here, Jimmy. No.
Why put myself up there for failure? If I don't write the goals, I do good.
Well, and it's funny is like, I'm a total goal setter. So I like love to write my goals down every year. Like, oh, I'm going to lose weight, or I'm going to, save this much money, or contribute this much to retirement, or do, whatever, maybe read some books, do so many podcast episodes, whatever it may be. And like, my wife like always gives me a terrible time about it because she thinks like, it's totally cliche and like who does their goal setting. And anyway, so I challenged her. Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, exactly. There's one in every couple, but anyway, so this year I was putting on there that I'm going to turn 40 this year, which is old for me. I don't know how Jimmy's older than I am, but I think Tyler's younger than us. But so anyway, so I'm turning 40 and like I had a really lame 39 birthday, like my turning 39th birthday. Anyway, so I was like, I want a good, like solid birthday this year. And so I'm like, you know what? It'd be awesome to go four-wheeling on my birthday. And so I'm like, so I wrote in my goal setting that I'm like going to be on Barrett for my 40th birthday this year. So in a built Jeep. And the funny thing is I even joked because I'm like, I want to go with you guys. Like, not that I'm not setting this up right this second, but I mean, like,
we're setting it up.
like
I'm putting it on the calendar right now. So
no, but I mean, like, my Jeep's not built. I don't know that I'm going to be able to pull it off. It might be a total failure, but I was like,
what tire size are you on now?
I'm on 33s.
We can get you through.
33s with a drop
front and rear.
No, I'm not.
Okay.
We can still get you through.
I'm open 33s with a drop transfer case.
It'll be a fun trip.
Yeah. So I mean, like, I honestly,
the Samurai, I can do it on 33s.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I mean, I think if I was on 35s and I got my transfer case skid plate squared away, like, I think I could do it just fine. Not a big deal, but I don't know. We'll see. We'll see where the budget goes this year.
When's your birthday?
It's in October.
Barrett won't be open.
That's the other question. Because how late did you go this year, Tyler? You went this year, right?
I went. God, what was I went
year?
Late August. I went twice. So late August and then mid-September, I think.
You didn't go in October?
I don't think so.
I swear you guys were up there. Somebody was up there in October. I'm in the beginning of October. I don't know if I specifically want to say my birthday, but I mean, I guess I can. Doesn't really matter.
No, in October, the big trip I had was
You
the
guys were on
Rocktoberfest on
the
Rubicon.
Rubicon. Was Barrett? Barrett. I know it could be, depending on the snow year, Barrett could totally be closed.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So that'll be my saving grace that I don't have to go.
Yeah. Then you can't fulfill your goals because of
It's closed.
outside
Yeah.
forces.
It's not my fault.
Therefore, if you didn't build your Jeep up this year,
Yes.
then it's not because you didn't do that.
Yeah. No, I have like.
I see how these goals work.
Yeah, I did. It is like, and it's two separate goals. One, to build my Jeep. I wrote that one down. And number two was to be on Barrett for my birthday, but we'll see. So,
all right. Well, at the end, you'll
anyway, yeah, we can
send us the invite.
I'll send you the invite
There
and
you
then
go.
we'll go from there. So, yeah. How are your guys' rigs?
Good for the
Yeah.
most part. I
All
just discovered a weird wobble, but I'll talk about that
Sure.
on Monday's episode. But otherwise, everything looks almost identical to the last time you saw it.
Okay.
Nothing's really changed on my end except for I'm trying to finally finish building Samantha, the 2-wheel drive to 4-wheel drive.
I
So we
enjoyed
got-
those videos as well, man.
Yeah, we
Are
got some new parts in that we haven't disclosed yet,
Nice.
but
They're up on a shelf out there, actually.
yeah,
Sweet.
and it changes the whole direction of that build. So it's almost starting over
nice.
in a way.
So you're going to
Yeah.
put the body and the cab back on the frame and all that stuff.
Sooner or later.
Yeah, sometimes.
Eventually.
Because the direction you have right now is taking it apart.
Yeah. Right now it's literally on frame on jack stands with the engine and transmission sitting.
It's been a while that's been sitting that way, right?
Oh yeah, for
Mhm.
too long.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't have to feel bad about my Jeep not being built then.
No,
No.
you can at least drive yours
Yeah.
around.
Yeah, I was gonna say you get to use yours though. That's
Yeah.
Mine's taking up shop space.
Nice. I've always been a fan of 2-wheel drive Toyotas because I had one that we straight axle and all that stuff back in the
Mhm.
day. And so I did enjoy watching your videos because I did have an aspirations at some point to buy a Toyota. I thought about buying a Toyota when I sold my Jeep before I bought my Jeep that I currently have, but I don't know.
You sent me a couple
Toyotas.
And you're like, what do you think about this one? And I was
Yeah.
like, it's a pretty good shape. It probably needs some TLC here.
Sure.
Do you
And
think
then I was like, wait a minute. Are you looking at buying a Toyota?
do you think he wanted a Toyota just so he could get back on the podcast?
That's
scene?
it.
Probably.
I'm like, I know you guys need help. Just kidding. No, I mean, I really do like Toyotas. Like that's where like I kind of like, real quick on the history of, stupid stuff, but I thought I like Samurais, right? So I always have like a heart for Samurais until I actually I've had 2 Samurais, but when I realized I couldn't drive them with the door closed, then I realized, okay, Samurais are not really for me because I'm a big boy. And so anyway, so I got rid of my Samurais and then I got a Toyota, it was a 2-wheel drive automatic Toyota that had been straight axled, but it never had a new transfer case. Still had the 2-wheel drive automatic transmission in it.
Mm-hmm.
And so then
they solid axled it.
They
kept it
solid
2-wheel drive.
axled it and never got to the point of
It's
doing
a pre-runner.
Yeah, exactly. Straight axle pre-runner on 38s.
Wow.
But I love that truck. And it's like, that's a funny story too, because like he sold it to me with the dual transfer cases and the transmission. Like it had everything.
Oh.
You just had to buy a flywheel and then put it together basically.
Yeah.
Well, and a skid,
Cross member.
do
on it,
custom cross member. So like one day, like I had bought that, my brother and I were still living at home at my parents' house and stuff. And like they had a side yard that they let us do stupid stuff in. And like one day I came home and Jeff had my Toyota pulled over there and the transmission pulled out. I'm like, okay, I guess we're going ahead with this. Like, and then he was like, yeah, because I don't know. Sometimes, when you have an older brother that likes doing projects, he takes them upon himself. And that's the same thing that happened to my Samurai, because I brought a Samurai and we had to do a motor swap on it. And I came home one day and he had the body like off the whole frame and everything, and like had the old motor off, but it never progressed past that. And we sold it off in pieces to the same guy. Like every week he came by and bought a new piece of the Samurai. So eventually I'm like, you should have just bought the whole thing. But anyway, so we did the swap. So I always laugh because we had 2-wheel drive, it was a 4-wheel drive, dual cases, but it had the, the sticks, and it was a manual, and then it had the automatic shifter on the column.
Yeah. You left it in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Left it in. And so
that
it was
confused people.
It did. Like,
I put it in D.
Yeah. So no, I drove that Toyota for probably 2 years. But then the funny thing is I bought a Samurai that I wanted to build that had like, my friend had like disassembled it, and it was a Samurai on 37 stretched and stuff, and like 63-inch springs. Who put 63-inch Chevy springs on a Samurai?
Wow.
Yeah. No,
it takes up over half of the frame.
Exactly. That's why it was funny, because like they extended the wheelbase, but then it had like the springs, just like frame extension for the springs out the back. But he had like pulled the Toyota, axles apart, but left the housings in there.
Mm-hmm.
And so I got it, and I was like, man, it'd be really cool to, build the Samurai up. And I'm like, and I had my Toyota, and like, I don't know why I was stupid, right? Like we've all been there. And so I was like, I have this totally fine working dual case lock Toyota. And I'm like, I'm going to pull this thing apart, sell it in pieces, and then put the Samurai together, which I never actually drove, but that's later story. No, but so I had a friend who wanted the Toyota, and they had full size axles. And so they're like, well, we'll put full size axles under the Toyota. So I basically took it over to his house, pulled the axles out, and sold it to him. And the ironic thing is they do Ultra 4 racing. And so my Toyota still lives on. They don't Ultra 4 in the Toyota, but that's like what kind of led them into Ultra 4. But so they're still wheeling the Toyota, which I appreciate. So
that's cool.
Yeah.
Who is it?
Havoc Racing. I don't know if you guys have heard of them or not.
I've heard of them. I don't.
Yeah. They're like,
they in Loomis?
Maybe Orangeville, maybe Loomis. It's they're a bunch of Romanians, or they might be Hungarian. I don't know. Their mom's like Romanian. I think their dad's Hungarian, and they don't like being one or the other. So anyway, but they're a bunch of family members that all do, but it's twins. I think they're twins that do the actual racing, but I don't know. I haven't kept up with them that well, but
gotcha.
So anyway, but Havoc Racing is those guys. So they're out there and causing trouble. But anyway, so I got the Samurai put together, and then the motor wasn't very good on it. So I had a friend like help me out, rebuild the motor and stuff. And he got it running. And then I never took it 4-wheeling and sold it. Yeah. So, and then that led me to buying an STI, a Subaru STI, because who doesn't love Subarus? And then got too many speeding tickets. And so then I bought my LJ, which is my old Jeep. So, which was red. And so that brings us full circle to the current vehicle I have now, which is a red LJ.
Yeah. I was gonna say that's what you have now. So, are you trying to build up the LJ right now, or what's the plan for it?
Trying is a great word. I am trying, but I haven't made any effort. So, I mean, like I've had the Jeep for 2 years. I sold my JK in 2019, and then 2020, I realized like things were going good, like for the most part for me financially and all that stuff. So I was like, all right, I've been trying to hunt down an LJ. It was also like the most expensive time to buy a stupid Jeep. So anyway, but whatever. So I was in Hawaii, believe it or not, on a family trip, and I found an LJ for sale, and I was like, dude, I freaking got to buy it. Like I love LJs, and all you Toyota guys that don't know anything about them, they only made them for 3 years, 2004 to 2006. And they really only made the Rubicon for 2 years. They didn't do it in 2004. They only did it for 5 and 6. Anyway, so then I've been hunting for an LJ, and like I kind of wanted a low mileage, which not like I wanted under 100,000. That's really all the aspirations.
That's low mileage for an LJ.
Yeah. So was kind of keeping my eye out, and a mechanic at work had one, and he was like using it for like his pickup truck. Basically, it was like his Jeep truck, and like he was just thrashing it. And I'm like, man, let me buy this one. And I'm like, he bought it for $7,000. And I was like, that's a really good deal for an LJ. So I was like, I'll give you 10 for it. And he's like, no. So anyway, sorry. So I never ended up buying that one. He still drives it to this day. So I've been hunting around, but anyway, found one in Nevada, Carson City, Toyota, believe it or not, at the dealership. And so while I was in Hawaii, I called them and said, I think I want this one. Can you send me pictures? They didn't have any pictures on the website or anything. but it had 56,000 miles on it, and it was a one owner LJ.
Wow.
And it was bought from Carson City Jeep and then traded in at Carson City Toyota. I don't know what for. Probably a Toyota.
We know what it's for. It's okay.
Yeah. He obviously lost his way after owning it for 18 years, but whatever. So anyway, so they, it's a 2004. And so anyway, the sales guy sent me some pictures and it was red. And I was like, man, this is a nice Jeep. And they're like, we're firm on the price. And I'm like, oh, you guys are lame. And I was like, well, it's smog in California. They're like, yeah, no problem. Like, we guarantee it. And I'm like, all right.
Can I get that in writing?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I was like, all right. And so he's like, you can put a deposit on. We got a lot, they played me.
Yeah.
No, but things were going fast. Like, I don't know if you guys were looking for anything to buy in 2020, but like stuff was hot. So anyway, so put a deposit on it while I was in Hawaii, and then came home and then drove out to Carson City and picked it up. And as soon as I got it, there's one thing that I'm like, as soon as I grabbed it, I'm like, I wish I would have not put a deposit on this. Like, I could I could have got my money back, but there's one thing that I was like, I can totally tell. Like, you go into I don't know if you guys have ever been to Nevada, and Nevada's very well known for casinos.
Yeah.
Casinos have a very special smell to them.
The smoke,
like
the cigarette smoke. Yeah.
Yes. And so the Jeep like was smoked in, and I was like, like you could totally tell. And I'm like, and the guy never told me anything. And I was like, I'm like, whatever. And I'm like, I can deal with it. I think like I'll swap out the whole interior, do something or whatever. So anyway,
a lot of those little Christmas trees.
Yeah. A lot of little Christmas trees. And so anyway,
there's some gear oil we can put in there for
exactly. That's like, really, I mean, it's going to smell like butt, sweat, and gear oil soon anyway. So like, who really cares? Right. And so I was like, all right. So I went for it and bought it. So yeah, so it's a one owner. The guy did nothing with it. It has some stupid lift on it. I couldn't even, I think it might be super lift. I don't even know. I really don't care enough to even look yet. And I've had it for 2 years, but it has a drop transfer case and it's on 33s, which I hate the drop transfer case. And it's like embarrassing and all that stuff. And so anyway, all I've done to it over the 2 years is I've replaced the front. It has a front winch on it. It's a nice Smitty built winch. And so I replaced the cable line with a synthetic line.
Okay.
And then I replaced the rear bumper.
Okay.
Nice.
With a rough stuff bumper.
Okay.
So that's pretty much all I've done to it. And
nice.
So I took it out, I took it to Strawberry a couple times, which for the people that don't know, Strawberry was a very easy trail. Now it's even easier.
Now it's a highway.
Yeah. Now it's a highway, and which I could update people if they care to hear about that trail. But and so anyway, that's where I'm at with it. And so this year is my goal to build it. And I've had I got to the point where I was like, maybe it's cheaper to just like sell it and buy one that's built. And so I'd kind of been eyeballing some, and I don't know. I'm kind of still on the fence of like, if I find a nicely built one that's like what I'm looking for, I would probably jump on it and sell mine. But we'll see. I'm kind of becoming.
You'd want to keep it as an LJ if you bought something.
Yeah. No. Yeah. Sorry, it would be an LJ.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I've debated looking at Toyotas again. Like, there's a really cool, double cab Tacoma that's on 40s for sale right now, but like he wants like 40 grand for it. And I'm like, there's no Toyota worth 40 grand.
I didn't even buy my new one for 40 grand.
Exactly. Yeah. And so like, I mean, anyway, so I'm like, that's just too much. But then the funny thing is like, I'm planning probably, I mean, in a dream world, I would spend 40 grand on my LJ, but
probably
anyway, so, but I do have like, my heart is set on LJs, like my first Jeep I ever bought. And like, my wife and I got married in it. So I have wedding pictures, like with our, not in the Jeep, but like, we drove, with the red one, we drove away. And so the one I have is very like reminiscent of that. And I regret selling my, LJ back in the day. But so anyway, I have big aspirations to build it, but I just haven't found the funding yet. And so the plan's in place. We're just waiting for the funding.
Nice.
So I wanted to talk to you guys today. No, I'm just kidding.
We're starting a GoFundMe for Greg.
Yeah, exactly.
Get Greg back on a trail.
Yeah. No, so it's like, well, the funny thing is like you roll in, you don't even have to ask me questions about it. I'm just going to continue talking if you guys would like. But, there's like, I feel like, and your listeners might like kind of agree on this, but like you have this, like, what's it called? dang it, I practiced the word on the way down here so I could
mirror.
like remember
Like
it.
doing it in the mirror.
But
too.
it's what is it? It's like you have too many options, right? Something by osmosis or something like that. Somebody said it to me the other day, and I'm like, that totally makes sense. But you know, when you have too many options, you're too like scared to make any moves, so you don't actually make any moves. But like that's where I'm at. Like I'm like, I want to spend money on it, but like I don't know how much money I'm really going to be able to spend on it. So I'm like too scared to start anything because I'm like, I don't want to.
Can end up committing.
Yeah. Cause like,
to it, and then you're like, oh,
yeah,
I need to spend another 30 grand here. And I only got 5.
Well, and that's the funny thing is, so like I had money set aside, you know, like, cause 2020 was like a great, 2020. Yeah. 2021 maybe was a great time to refinance a home if you owned it, get some really low interest rates. And like, I may have done that and like pulled a little money to the side. Like I'm going to use this to build this LJ. Like, and then my wife found out and she's like, what are you doing with this money? And I'm like, building a Jeep. Like, what do you want to do with the money? You know, like anyway. And so she said, no,
remodel a bathroom.
Yeah. She
build a
said,
bathroom.
exactly. She's like, well, our house needs flooring. And I'm like, well, what's wrong with the flooring we have? Concrete's great. No, it's not
You
that
spill gear oil on it, you just wipe it up.
You just put AstroTurf over it.
Yeah.
It'll be good.
100%. And anyway, but so she was like, you can spend $5,000. Like literally is what she said. And then I had already gotten quotes to like do a bunch of stuff to it, like put a ruby crawler in it, which is I bought an automatic because I'm a loser, number one. But number two is because advanced adapters, or like my brother likes to call them Atlas Corporation, sells a ruby crawler, which like replaces the tail housing on the automatic transmission. And it gives you like a 2-to-1. So it's kind of like a dual, you know, it feels like a Toyota. It's like dual,
dual
twin
case
stick.
kind of out of it.
Like, yeah. So you're like, sweet. I could put Toyota axles under my dual case Jeep.
Yeah.
And so anyway, but,
I'm selling some here. So if you're interested.
Yeah. Give you a good price.
Well,
you want to break the internet?
You know, what's funny. It's funny you mentioned that because on my Instagram, I posted a picture of my LJ and like you commented on there about like, oh, I'm selling some Toyota axles. And like the funny thing is a guy recently followed me and commented putting Toyota axles on a Jeep would be like, you know, sacrilegious or whatever. And like, and then he like said it like 2 days ago. And then
That's
I'm like,
funny.
It is funny. And then now we're
I
talking
totally
about
missed that comment.
But so anyway, so my wife said I had $5,000. And so I went and bought a rear bumper. And then I was like, you know what? I'm pissed off about only being able to spend $5,000 on my Jeep. Cause I'm like, this really buy me a set of, you know, tires and wheels. And so I was like, screw it. So I bought a firearm instead and never spent any money on the Jeep since then. So
nice.
that's where we're at today.
What
so,
firearms you get?
Well, it's a great question. You'd think that if I bought a gun after 2 years, I would have shot it by now, but I'm throwing myself under the bus. No, it was a Savage 110. I've always wanted to get into precision shooting. And so it was, it's a Savage 110, it's 300 Win Mag. But I bought that and I bought a Leopold Mark, whatever. I don't even remember the mark. People are really going to criticize me if they're anything into firearms. It's a Mark 4, 6. I don't know what it is, but some optic for it. And I've literally done nothing with it. I haven't mounted it. I haven't shot it. And so I am lame in 1,000 ways. But anyway, so I'm kind of wondering. And so in hindsight, I'm like, man, I should have just spent the money on the Jeep because I wanted to do the.
I won't argue with you.
Yeah. So like, anyway, I've even debated selling it. So if you want a brand new unfired, you know, rifle, let me know. But no, in my retirement days, not that I'm that old yet, but I've always had aspirations to get into precision shooting and do like some competition shooting just for fun. Like, and so
with paintballs?
Yeah. With paintballs. Yeah. Yellow ones. Anyway, so
cool.
Anyway, but so that, you know, rewind back. So I was going to do, you know, the Ruby crawler and then I have to do a slip yoke eliminator kit on the stupid, you know, MP231 that I have in there. And so I was like planning all that out. And then my friend was like, why don't you just put an Atlas in it? And I was like, well, that makes a lot of sense instead of doing
all the other stuff.
Yeah. And so then I was like, all right, that's a great idea. Except for that's like $4,000 where I could have done those other things like one step at a time. And so I've never did that. And then I haven't done any gearing to it or anything because it's on a Dana 30 front end, 44 rear end. And I'm like, I don't want to put any money into the 30. And so I'm like, been waiting to like get a 44, but then I'm like, have aspirations. Really, I want a 60, right? Like, I don't really want to put it on 40s. Like, that's not my goal. My goal was to kind of do a mild build because like, otherwise, if I was going to go extreme, like I should have just kept the JK, right? And so then my thought was like, I'm not going to go super extreme, but like, I kind of want to be in 37, 38 world. Like why 38s? I don't know. Why not just 37s? Because 38s just seem cooler to me.
It sounds better. Yeah.
It seems bigger.
Yeah.
I always had this like, you save photos of rigs you like and stuff on your phone or on your computer or whatever. And like, there's a Jeep LJ that has like the stretch on it with 38 inch MTRs. And I've always loved MTRs, what I ran for a long time, but then like MTRs are kind of silly because they come and go in terms of whether or not you can buy them or if they're on back order or whatever. But so like they have that 38, 14, 50, 17 inch MTR that I'm like, that's always been like
wide ones.
Yeah. Which is, I don't know why, but then they came out with the 38 inch Nitto, which I was like the trail grappler, trail grappler. And I was like, that's a cool tire. Like I'd love to do that. And so anyway, so I'm like not buying a 44 because I'm like, really, I want to like putting 38s on a 44, like going out and buying a 44 and then putting 38s on it. You're like running it at top speed, right? Like, and so it's like kind of silly. So you really should do a 60, but then like, anyway, so I haven't done anything because I can't make a decision.
We know how that goes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
And then
you want us to decide for you.
Well, and then even though there's more, because then it's like, okay, well, if you're going to do a 60, like, do you do a 9-inch or do you do a regular 60? And like, I love, nobody knows about them, but like Rockman, if you've been around Jeeps for a long time, they were doing these builds that they called the freak builds. And they were a company out of Colorado and like, they do really cool stuff back in the day. I mean, some people, everything's open to interpretation, but they always built 9-inch axles on them, like the Spider Track 9. I always thought that was really cool. And like, I always wanted to do 9-inch axles and stuff. And so to add more, like you guys I already know what your answer is going to be, but I have 2 35 spline 9-inch ARB lockers sitting in my garage. So it's like, really, Greg, you should do 9-inch axles, but I haven't. So
that's not what I was going to say.
What were you going to say?
Toyota axles.
Yeah.
Toyota axles in 38s works.
And it does. You're 100% right. What's the width on the factory Toyota?
61.5 WMS. Well, if you have the IFS width.
Yeah.
So if the mini truck width is 58.5.
58.5. Yeah.
WMS.
See, yeah. I mean, like
FJ80s are 63.
Are they 63?
Yeah.
Interesting. Because
we don't have a set of those.
No.
You have a set
we got a set of Toyota axles.
Yeah. The standard, the 58s or
the 61.5 would be what it be.
You have a front axle that's 61.5?
It's the 58.5, but it's on 1.5 wheel spacers too on each side. So it brings out to the 3-inch to match the IFS rear.
Got it.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah. So factory TJ stuff or LJ is 60.5 inches. So
really,
yeah, I'd like to go a little bit wider.
There you go.
A lot of guys are doing JK
That
axles.
is a little bit wider.
Yeah.
We can put more wheel spacers on.
That's true. That's very true.
On there.
I know it is funny. Do you guys like whose axles are they? Are they yours?
Mine.
Do you ever had problems with your wheel spacers?
No,
I never have either. But like in my mind, I'm like, it's bad. Like I don't have a problem running wheel spacers like on the rear, but in my mind on the front end, like, the unit bearings and stuff, not that you guys deal with unit bearings mostly, but yeah. But I mean, like in my mind, like with the TJ unit bearings and like throwing a wheel spacer on there, I'm like, this is kind of like a bad idea. I feel like, but cause that's like for me, I was going to buy a 44. If I did, I was going to buy it at 63.5 inches and then run 1.5 inch wheel spacers for the rear. Cause I have a rear 44, and I thought, well, I could 35 spline the rear axle and then run RCVs on the front end. And like, in theory, they have no, they can handle any tire limit, but I don't know. But yeah, Toyotas are cool in that way that you can like run pretty much almost 40s on them. And really
Tyler has been running 40s for almost
2 years.
2 years on his.
Yeah. It's as long as you're easy on them and you understand when you're binding up everything.
My brother can't understand that.
No.
But these aren't his axles we're talking about.
That's true.
Yeah.
No. And what's funny is like, he's the only person I really talk to about four-wheeling. Like, right. Like our podcast has continued. We just don't record it anymore.
Right.
Yeah. And it doesn't happen on a weekly basis per se.
Start recording your phone calls and then upload them.
Exactly. That's what we should do. Yeah. That's a great idea. No, but,
we have this cool software called Riverside now.
Yeah. Is that good for
it does really good audio quality over.
Nice.
Over
that's good.
The internet.
Is it new? Like, is that a new program?
It's
just out of curiosity.
It's It's pretty new. Essentially what it does is it records the audio stream on each individual person's computer and then automatically syncs it for you.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Is it prescription based?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I started kind of researching that stuff like towards the end of our thing. And like, there was a lot of like, there were some good audio companies, but like a lot of them cost money. And you know, when you're on a shoestring budget doing a podcast, it's difficult sometimes, but as we say that as like I had 60s on a Jeep, shoestring. Anyway, listeners like they're lying, but no, I don't know, Jeff. So my brother, you know,
what's he been up to?
Well, he's always had the aspirations of building a Pathfinder. Yeah, that's kind of how he left the world. But so he moved to Minnesota, so he's nowhere near us. But
he took a Pathfinder with him.
He took his Pathfinder with him. He has a Dana 60 out there. He's got 14 bolt. I don't think he actually has the 14 bolt, but he's got 14 bolt shafts and all that stuff. And then he's got bead locks and 42-inch tires and all this stuff. And then he was going to build this. He was going to in theory, not disassemble his truck, but like build this Pathfinder. And so anyway, he blew the head gasket on the Pathfinder and like, you know, kind of did a bunch of stupid stuff, like, you know, left the car out in the snow and stuff. And like, you know, winters are
with the
harsh back
down.
there. Yeah. And like, then there's like, you let it sit near a field for a long time, like mice find it, you know, and like when your car wires are dipped in like canola oil, like they want to chew on them and stuff. So anyway, so he's like, there's no, I mean, the good thing is like his truck is still running, except he doesn't have exhaust on it because his truck somebody cut the cat out of it. And so
they don't have smog laws out there anyway.
Exactly. It's a great point, which brings us to our next thing. So the motor swap for the LJ. No, just teasing. But I'm going to have Dana 30
put a Pathfinder in there? Toyota axles, Nissan Pathfinder motor swap.
Yeah.
All right.
You can actually run a Nissan rear axle with a Toyota front axle. They both have drop out third members. So like, you know, anyway, but
Japanese LJ.
Yeah. Yeah. Which would be like a samurai, basically, like those long samurais. But anyway, so no, so he was going to build his Pathfinder, but for those, I don't know if I mentioned it already, but so he had another kid. So he's got 4 kids. He's working on his house still and building a house. And so four-wheeling, and there's not a lot of great four-wheeling in Minnesota, although every time we say that, like people email us or call us or message us and like, no, there is four-wheeling. And like, yeah, it's an 8-hour drive from where he is to get to it. It's like, that's like us driving down to the Hammers for the weekend. You know, it's like, it's not that easy. But anyway, so he's kind of like, dude, like you should take my stuff and put it into the LJ, which I'm like, all right, like that's a good idea. But I'm like, if that's the case, you should have left it here in California instead of bringing it to Minnesota. And so he's like, well, I've got a great idea. He's like, order all your parts, have them shipped to Minnesota. He's like, drive your Jeep out and I'll build it for you. And I was like, okay, like, cause I'm not,
that's tempting.
Yeah, that is tempting, except for like, I know my brother's work ethic and like why we don't have a podcast anymore, but accountability is not his strong suit, but no. So, you know, cause this is what I'd see it as. It's like, okay, I'll ship him a bunch of stuff. It will sit in his shop. I'll get the Jeep out there and then like, I'll help him for like a week. Right. And then fly home or something. Cause I'll have to get back to my life. But then like, it'll be this constant, like, how's the Jeep doing? Like, is the Jeep done? Like, are you working on it? Like,
I'm working on the sewing room today.
Yeah. See, exactly. Like we're like 6 months into this project, bro. Like what's going on?
And got Barrett in a month.
Exactly. And Jimmy and Tyler won't let me live it down, but no. So
goals.
So yeah. Well, so touche. I'm never coming on this podcast again.
Oh, Greg's leaving already.
All right. No, shall we just end?
Yeah. So anyway, so
what you need to do is you need to send them the stuff and you don't drive the Jeep out there until like the axles are actually done.
Right.
Right. Have you put those axles together? There's no point in me coming out there unless those axles are together.
Right.
Because then all we have to do is a simple 4-link and 3-link or whatever else you do.
So simple.
Yeah.
Yeah. No,
I mean, Rubicon Express ones are bolt up.
No, there's a lot of bolt on options. You're 100% correct. So, I mean, like, yeah, it really is like the axles are the main piece. That's why, not to circle back to my build, but like, that's why I've done nothing is because I'm like, I need to get my front axle squared away. Once my front axle squared away, like then I'll continue the build. Cause that's like the most expensive part. It's the most, you know, it's the biggest piece to the puzzle, but anyway, so yeah, so I don't know where I'm at. There's a really cool build going on right now on Instagram. I can't think of the guy's name, but he's somewhere on the East Coast area, but he's doing a really sweet LJ build with a lot of moto built parts. And I'm like, I really like it, but he's on 42s, which is like massive. And I had these aspirations to like keep my Jeep kind of smaller built so I could like rent a U-Haul trailer and like tow it somewhere if I need to. Cause I don't have a trailer, but like I love going to Moab and, all that stuff. I'd love to go to Colorado and do some wheeling and stuff. And like just being able to like simply rent a trailer that my Jeep could fit on, really easily to get out there would like make that more, would make the goals happen better. So anyway, so unless Tyler's trailer's for rent.
Everything's for rent. I mean, everything
yeah, it's
has
whether
a
you
price.
can afford it or not. Yeah, exactly. It's like, what, $6,000 a week? But
have you ever thought about doing a Super 44 for your front?
What's a suit? Refresh my memory. What do you define as a Super 44?
It's essentially a Dana 44 center section, tubes, housing with 60 outers. Yeah.
I prefer those as a Dana 50.
Okay.
No, I'm just kidding. No, I mean like, well, cause like I've thought about it, but then like you have the Super Duty Dana 50s, right? Which I'm like are kind of the same thing,
similar,
right?
Yeah.
I mean, I've thought about it. And that makes sense because like, I'm not like, I feel like I'm more your speed when it comes to wheeling. Just kind of like, cruise, like let the car do its thing, and like, maybe hit the throttle if I need to, or step on the brakes. But I mean, outside of that, like I love creepy crawling through the trail. Like that's fun to me. Right. And like, I want zero bind. And so like, I think I could make anything last really. But like, yeah, the Super 44, I've thought about everything. I've thought about that, but I feel like most people will argue, like if you go to the Super 44, like you're kind of in the price range of getting a 60 anyway.
Once you put everything on it. Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, like, I don't know. I've always been a fan of Terraflex axles for some reason. And they had their 60 for sale for a while. And I was like super eager to buy it. But then they told me their unit bearings they're running a unit bearing front end, 35 spline, 60 outer. I don't know what it's from, but they basically said that I called them one time on their tech line and they told me that they're discontinuing them. But then I'm like, which is weird because they're still selling the axle. So I don't know. They said they lost through COVID. They lost their supplier for the unit bearings. But anyway, so I don't know. I'm a big fan of unit bearings, to be honest. Like I like the unit bearing approach. I'm not a bearing kind of guy. I'd rather just pull 3 or 4 bolts and slop a new unit bearing on. But I don't know. I've thought about trail geared 9-inch axles. They have their roller kits that make really,
those are pretty sweet.
Good
I was looking into those. I almost went with that route and then I decided I wanted to do something stupid. So
yeah. And how is your something stupid doing?
They're coming along. Rear axle's almost done.
Yeah.
Front axle, I need to go purchase the Super Kingpins from Reed. And then once I have those, then I can cut the WMS on the front axle.
Nice.
And then from there, it's pretty much handing it all off to Ori.
Sure.
To throw the rest of it together and put it on the suspension and under the rig. So I told myself I wasn't going to ask questions you guys probably answer on the podcast, like prove that I listened to the show. But like, I know you were posting on Instagram about spacing issues in the back end of your axle. Did you ever get that figured out? Yeah. I mean, for me, the big issue is the coilovers on the rear suspension.
Well, didn't you have like an issue with the axle shafts? Cause didn't you have like some RCV shafts that you were trying to use or something? And then your hub wasn't lining up?
Yeah. What was that? It was, I don't remember what the problem was.
You were supposed to follow through on Instagram and I never probably saw it. It fell off my feed.
it was when I was cutting the WMS for the rear axle.
Yeah, that's what it was.
And it was an issue with, how the axle shafts were sitting in the hub flanges, the drive flanges, the drive slugs for the rear unit bearings.
Right.
And I don't remember what it ended up being. Oh, because the drive slugs were set up for front unit bearings.
Yeah.
And I was like, am I the only weirdo that is putting 05 and up unit bearings on my rear axle?
I would think not.
I would think not too, but they're like, yeah, we don't have any, there's no drive slug applications for the 05 and up unit bearings on a rear axle. And I was like, that seems asinine to me, but okay.
Totally.
And so I just ended up cutting down the drive slug so it wasn't as thick. And that fixed the spacing issue so I can get the snap ring on the end of the axle shaft.
So are we going to see some more flate? You should have a sign in your studio that has the actual name
with the
No, but I mean, like, so will we see some more flate unit bearing end caps for the 05 and up Super Duties.
Thinking
in the
about it.
future.
Thinking about it.
Sorry, I
yeah.
didn't mean to spill the beans then.
No.
No,
the
he
case.
did some research trying to find some blank ones because we both have lasers and we can probably
Sure.
engrave on them, but
Mhm.
nobody sells blank ones.
That's
Nobody
crazy.
sells blank unit
So
bearing caps, yeah.
what are people running for unit bearings in the back?
That's a good question. I think a lot of people are running the Sterling axles, which I believe are on spindles.
Yeah.
They are.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
So I don't think there's many people running unit bearings, at least unless you're doing like some super customized thing.
What's isn't Curry running? Like, aren't they pretty much reselling
Those ones? Yeah. The Curry unit bearings are what is it? 5 on 6.5. I don't remember the lug pattern was bigger,
Yeah.
smaller. So
Sure.
it's a 6 on 5.5 or 5 on 5.5.
But I guess they're just like getting a custom made unit bearing done.
they're using the 99 to 04 unit bearings.
Oh,
Yeah, the 99 to 04 unit bearings, but they're redoing the spindles and the snub,
yeah.
or the snouts in them,
Yeah.
the same way that Spider Tracks is doing
Mm.
theirs.
Got it. Yeah. I don't know the anatomy of a hub very well, but
This is all new world for me as well.
is it? Yeah. Well, you need to update your rig, man.
I know.
But it works so well.
Sure.
That's the annoying part about it,
I know.
is that he never updates it, and it does.
Yeah.
It works so
There's
well.
nothing wrong with leaf springs and Toyota rig.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Doesn't break.
I mean, that's the funny. Well, it doesn't break until you get like goofballs behind the wheel, right? And then they
Right.
break them, and then
Yeah.
they're like, anyway. But no, that's interesting. Yeah. So
Yeah, I thought it was super weird, but I'm just like, all right, if you guys are telling me, and this is Brannick that's
Yeah.
telling me this,
what do they know?
and I don't, guys, right? So I was like, all right, whatever. I'll just shave down the end of the drive slug so that I can put a snap ring on here, and then I have to cut a new PVC piece to keep the drive slug in place with the cap, the unit bearing cap.
Nice.
So,
A wearable part. I like it.
yeah.
Yeah. Huh.
So, yeah. So that's, I mean, the axles are coming along. They're almost done. I keep trying to waste time on these electric parking brakes right now, trying to make those work.
What's the details on the brake? Is it on on the disc on the rear axle? Brake?
It'll go on the rear rotor.
Or the rear rotor.
And they're electric parking brakes you can get from Willwood.
Oh,
And they were sold to me as you just run a load wire and a ground wire out of them, and then put it on a switch in your cab. I'm like, that sounds great. I don't have to worry about routing parking brake cables and everything correctly. And turns out you have to reverse the polarity of it so that the motor can go in and out, engage and disengage. And they have like a whole controller and wiring harness and everything for it. And I'm like, it's $700 more for the wiring harness and controller and everything that they didn't tell me about.
wow.
And so I'm trying to make it work with
Is that
finding ways to reverse the polarity myself.
Is that why our friend the electrician's coming in tomorrow?
No, he's he's
build
coming
you
in
a
for
harness.
some other stuff.
Yeah, have you build a harness for your rear brakes?
Yeah. So I keep wasting time on that because I'll order up a part and see if it works, and it doesn't work. So I've got to order up another part in another 2 weeks.
Well, it's funny all the problems you're having, because that's like where I feel like trying to do a 9-inch rear axle for my Jeep, like through the trail gear stuff, like. Because I've always been wondering, like, an e-brake is important to me as well, and like having one, and like anyway. But I'm like, I know so little about rear brakes, like an e-brake setups to like I mean, obviously I know like how JKs work and like how the TJ e-brake works and all that stuff. But I mean, like in the grand scheme of like doing a unit bearing with like some type of e-brake setup, like I have no idea how that would work, and that's like one of the biggest hurdles. You know, I like that you're kind of diving into it, but then I'm scared to run into like a dead end like you, where I'm like, wait, I got to dish out another, $700 or whatever.
Well, hopefully we'll have it figured out here. I have the wiring harness. I bought the $700 wiring harness and everything for it.
Oh, okay.
But I'm like, I'm kind of pissed they didn't tell me about it. So I'm going to try, I'm trying to find a way to do it and then send the harness back, get my $700 back. But I may just kind of bite the bullet and say, screw it, set up the harness.
Right.
And just go with it that way.
Yeah.
And then we'll figure it out with Jimmy's.
Yeah. Because I bought the brakes too.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
To go on Samantha?
Yes.
Nice.
And then we found out we needed that harness for me as well.
Yeah.
I'm like, this sucks.
That
so
does suck.
I'm halfway tempted just to send the whole thing back and get the rough stuff Cadillac.
Sure.
What are those? The Cadillac
Eldorado
ones.
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 I am curious, like how those Eldorado ones work, because like Rough Stuff has a video on like how to set those up, because like you hear like 50-50 on like people get them to work or not. But cause I'm kind of in the same boat. Like, I'm like, okay, well, like if I did, cause I thought about building like Rough Stuff 9-inch axles or whatever and going that route. But same thing. Like the e-brake is like the biggest hurdle, and I've heard of the Willwood or whatever, but anyway.
Well, we might have it figured out here soon.
All right. Well, sign me up.
I'll let you know.
Keep listening to the podcast.
Start listening to the podcast. That's what you said? No, I'm just kidding. Just teasing.
Yeah.
This is a great podcast, by the way. I will endorse it. I just don't have the time that I used to have listening to podcasts. But because of a career change. No, like I used to have a lot of time to listen to podcasts. That's how I got into podcasting, but not career, position change,
promotion.
Let's just put it there. And now I have to use my ears throughout the day. Like, dang it.
Yeah.
But
you still have to drive across town though.
I do. Yeah. So someday I'll get to work from home and be that professional paintballer from home.
Nice.
We'll see. So
is that still a sport?
Technically, yeah. I mean, yeah.
I've been getting a lot of paintball matches videos showing up on my Instagram feed lately.
They're really, I mean, I think Go Live, I think it's like a sport network that does streams live, like, paintball stuff. And like, it's still, I don't think it's as big out here on the West Coast as it is, or used to be. I don't know. I feel like Southern California, it's kind of popular, but no, it's still a thing. You can we can name drop there's some fields close to us that are still like doing competitions and stuff. Yeah. Yeah.
Are the Davis ones still going?
I don't know if Davis is, but there's one in Sacramento that's like kind of your old neighborhood area a little
over
bit.
near Rancho area.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I can't think of the name of it. But they're still going strong. I follow them on Instagram, and then there's 2 paintball stores in the area. They're like the old OG store that's
Predator?
still they've changed ownership, but Predator's still going strong. So
I went by there, walked right by that store yesterday, day before.
Oh, really?
Like
I would have had to have walked in just because, just walking past it. But I probably would have bought paintball gear. Believe it or not, like I'm just that stupid.
I need more balls.
Yeah,
we all need more balls.
Yeah, bigger balls.
If you see any sales on an air tank and hopper, let me know.
Sure. I mean, if you really want, I mean, like I'd probably give you mine. You could certify it. And take it, but, no. I have to be honest, this is how bad it is. I have like a new gun. I don't know what it is, like, to tell you. Like, it's been so long since I've used it or had it. Like, I didn't even bring it up because I'm like, I don't know what it's called. I think it's a mini, but a mini what? I don't know.
There's been a few more gun manufacturers, marker manufacturers that have popped up since I played, and I was like, man, I don't recognize that one.
Yeah. Well, the funny thing is, like in high school, like it was like barely affordable, but now, like as an adult, you're like, wow, paintballing's really affordable.
Yeah.
Like I could like do this, but anyway, sorry, we keep dropping back on that.
Yeah,
the paintballing podcast.
We all liked it.
I know.
Yeah,
we should go. We just need one more person. We can go play 4s.
That's it.
Yeah.
We can bring back the Outcasts.
Yeah.
Man. We got to get Jeff back out here.
That's it. Yeah. So what more do you guys want to know about my Jeep build that's never going to happen?
I don't know.
So Jeff's trying to convince me to do the 60s, the 42s, and a motor swap and register it out in Minnesota. Not that I would do that because that's illegal, but it's tempting.
But it's tempting. Yeah.
I think you should just get a 44.
Thanks, Jimmy.
And 37s.
Yeah. That would be the best route for my life currently. Yeah. My wife says I should do 35. She kind of called me out. And I got to share it because it's true. And I'm going to pull the curtain back. But, like all through the podcasting world, like I kind of joke, like I love talking 4-wheeling, researching 4-wheeling, but like actually getting out there and doing like the trail wheeling, like it's not as easily, as it should be for me in terms of like, there's a lot of things I don't want to admit on the air, but it's like, like I don't 4-wheel as often as I would have liked. And so my wife was like, calls me out on it. It's like, why do you want to spend all this money on the Jeep? Like you had this nice built JK and you like, and she's like, in her words, like, you barely wheeled it. I'm like, yeah, I kind of barely wheeled it. Like I regret not wheeling it as much as I could have. So, you only get one life to live. So, if you're on the fence about going out 4-wheeling and doing cool trails and trips, you go do it because you need to. But, so my wife's like, why don't you build the Jeep small, just put it on 35s, do a small little build on it, and then just like see if you use it. And I'm like, I told her, I'm like, I probably won't use it because I'll be embarrassed to use it.
I'm only on 35s. I can't take it anywhere.
Who goes on 35s anymore? Like 37s are the new 35s. Like
pretty much.
Yeah. And like really 38s really are the new 35s, to be honest. Cause like I feel like all the JKs, like, Patagonia came out with their 38 and like all these, I feel like all these other tire manufacturers are starting to follow suit a little bit. And like, I don't know. And even like it'd be cool to see more 39s come out too. Cause like 40's extreme, but then like, anyway.
Yeah. 39 is so much smaller.
It is. Yeah. It is. I know.
But I mean, I don't know do you know what the wheelbase length is on the LJ?
That's a great question. And I used to know, I'm going to guess here and I'll probably be wrong, but I think it's around 103.
Oh, smaller than I thought.
Yeah, the TJ's like, well, maybe it's more than that because the TJ.
I was thinking 107 to 109.
Maybe it's around there.
Okay.
If I drove it today, we could have measured it, but it's probably more than that because I know that like people stretch them and they can get around like the 110 to 112 pretty easily, but I don't know.
Bobcat's on 37s. It's been on 37s for a long time.
That's true.
And I hit all those trails.
I know. And the funny thing is like 37, you're Jimmy, you're speaking truth. I just am denying it. Because you're 100% like, right. Like I should just get a 44 front end, put it on 37s and just wheel it. Right. And enjoy it. And like,
and you don't have to build those up massively. To do that. And then if you're wheeling a lot.
Yes.
And then you can put those words back in your wife's mouth.
Right.
And go, look, I need to spend some actual money, put some 60s under here and some 38s or 39s.
And here's I agree with you, but here's where like the train gets derailed is because I'm like, okay, like, I don't know if you guys have looked at like who builds axles these days for like 44s and stuff, but like you have like Fusion, you have like, Curry and Dynatrack and all the big brands, but like, I don't know. You spend like $5,800 to run it. And here's the caveat though, is like, it doesn't come with true 44 outers. You run the same outers that you have on the Dana 30 that I currently have. So I run the same knuckles, the same brakes, the same unit bearing, still a 27 spline outer. And so it's like, so a lot of people then like, well, you need to do a JK 44 front end. Not a big deal. Like do wheel adapters, put it at 63 inches, like not a big deal. But then it like just ups the price of that. It's $5,800 for that one, but then you got to get the knuckles and the brakes and the unit bearings and the outers, all that for that. And so then you start like creeping up like towards that $7,000 mark. And you're like, well, that's $1,000 more and I can get like a 60, you know what I mean? And so that's why I've had too many options and can't make up my decision. So
I may have a 44 for you.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
buddy of mine, he's been trying to sell one for a while. He just sold it Saturday. But he's pulling, I just got a text from him. He said he's pulling his off soon. Stock Trust Synergy Outer C's RCV axle shafts.
What out of what?
Under his JK.
Oh, really?
Yeah, JK 44 front.
One of your buddies, I think, is selling a Rock Jock 44 too.
That was the one.
JK. Oh, he did sell it?
He just sold on Saturday.
Okay.
Yep.
I eyeballed that one a lot and thought about pulling the trigger. I don't know.
That one was a pretty decent price for what was on it.
It really was. I do like, it would have been, you needed better presentation in the pictures.
Yeah.
But in my humble opinion, because like you have the cover like pulled off and like you kind of wonder like, why are they pulling the cover off? Did he do the gearing himself? Anyway, no. But I've also been looking at Gladiator axles a little bit, but
the
like
Advantech 44s are sweet.
Yeah. And like, you can do like if you
are
run
they wider?
They are wider.
Okay.
Great question. They're 60. It depends on which one you get, but they're like around 66 to 67 inches.
That'd be cool.
So that would push it out a little bit. There's a set up for sale and I won't say because someone will go steal them. I've been eyeballing them. I don't know. It's weird. Like you see people post them and it was like affordable. He had them at $2,000, but then like
for both axles
front
or
and rear complete. Okay. Which I'm like, not terrible. Like, I mean, I don't know. It's maybe it's expensive. I don't really know. Like, it's kind of hard to judge on axles these days.
I know. You get everything on axles. I look at the Toyota side and people are selling a set of Toyota axles for $2,000.
Yeah.
And then if you're willing to drive a little ways, you can find them for $800.
Yeah.
You're like, okay.
I remember
whatever.
buying them for like $350 for a pair.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, like, yeah, like, I don't know. It's weird. Cause like to me, like 60s are like $1,000 for a junkyard 60,
Mhm.
you know, but like, I don't know. My brother, everyone always tells me build junkyard 60s, but I'm like, they're just a lot of work too, to build a junkyard. Like
They're cheaper if you can put in the labor to do it.
right.
Yeah.
And
if you can't, then they're just too expensive as new ones.
Right. And my asthma doesn't like hard work. So I'm just teasing, but no, that's interesting. So I don't know. So I don't know. I don't know where I'm at. I thought about the problem with the Gladiator axles is it has a fad. I forget what fad stands for, but it's that basically has that disconnect. You guys look at me like you don't even know what I'm talking about. You guys aren't Jeep guys?
No.
You haven't paid attention to new Gladiators and seen like the disconnect under the JLs and the, just their tailgate.
Yeah.
Is that as they're driving away from you on the trail? Just,
ouch.
Just teasing. Whoa. It's a Toyota thing. You would understand. No, but yeah. So like they have like that disconnect, like kind of like YJ's back in the day had this disconnect. Anyway, so they have this like weird fad housing thing. So it's like a 2-piece axles on that side. And so like
on the long side, right?
On the long side.
Yeah,
so it's always been kind of questionable about like, will it fit a TJ or whatever. But if you run a 3-link, like whatever, it doesn't matter.
Yeah,
like you just run off so anyway, so there's that. But then like you could buy a custom housing with TJ brackets on it if you wanted to, but then you're paying $2,000 essentially for a rear axle and outers on the front, which at that point would be too much, I think. So anyway, so here we are, too many options and no decisions to make and really no money to spend. So, because,
story of off-roading life.
Well, yeah. And like, I don't know. I know you got married, right? Is that a wedding ring? I see. Yes. And so you have did you adopt your child at all? Or, I mean, that's
legally I'm not allowed to.
Sure.
She still has a dad.
Got it. How old is
But
she?
9.
9. Yeah. So like, you have kids and like, you kind of like, man, 4-wheeling's really cool. But then you're like, dang, college is expensive. And you're like, man, they could pay for it themselves. So I can have a front axle, you know what I mean?
All those prom dresses.
Yeah, exactly. But then you're like, what kind of loser am I that like, I want to have a front axle. And my daughters, we're going to have to, take out loans for college, or what? I don't know. So it's like, there comes that point too, though, where it's like, you got to enjoy living a little bit as my parents spend my,
think of all the enjoyment your daughter will have going off-roading.
Yeah.
What's funny is I took my 4-year-old 4-wheeling for the first time. This is actually the last time I went wheeling it's like 4 weeks ago. And I took her out to Prairie City and I was like, which is an off-road park local to us. But, I was like going to invite some people and like make a big deal out of it. But I thought, no, this is my first time taking my 4-year-old. I'm like, I have no idea if she's going to like it, love it, hate it. Who knows? And like in my mind, she's kind of my wild child. Like she's the one that kind of enjoys like doing crazy things. And so I'm like, she's going to like it. And so I told her, we're going to go out. And so like we went out and just dinked around, I'm on whatever, but there's fun stuff, you get some, climb the hills and go down some stuff and get it flexed out and all that fun stuff. And, and she was like, she brought 2 stuffed animals with her. There were stuffed cats, but she kept telling me how her cats were scared, and how she'd calm them down and tell them it was going to be okay and stuff. And so I like kind of took it as like, okay, she's probably not really enjoying it, and then it was super windy because she loves climbing on rocks. So we got out to like climb around on some rocks and stuff. And then she got cold and then it was like time to go. And so anyway, but I'm easing her in because I took her last, I always get these holidays mixed up. What's the one in May? Labor Day? Memorials. Thank you. See, I told you I get it mixed up. Yeah. Holidays. What are that? What are those?
Who has those?
But, I took her camping then for the first time by myself, which, it's a big pat on my back as a dad. Cause taking my daughter camping, I'm like, wait, you don't know how to go to the bathroom by yourself yet? But so anyway, I took her camping. And so like, and she loves my Jeep and stuff, but like, I can't get her to enjoy driving it with the top off, which is my next big hurdle. So I'm like, okay, we've done the camping, we've done the 4-wheeling. So she kind of has taste of like, but yes, memories are key. And so, that's the aspirations and why I keep telling my wife, like, yes, we need to build this Jeep so we can build these memories. And my daughters were always, love men that have Jeeps instead of guys with Toyotas. Get a quality husband.
So that's enough for today. Oh, Greg, you got to go.
Yeah,
You
look
gotta
at the
go.
time.
Look at the time.
Just
Oh,
teasing.
man.
So anyway,
No, I think
good stuff.
I think the enjoyable memories. We had a Jeep growing up, my family,
yeah,
and we did a lot of car camping. Now it's called overlanding,
yeah.
but we did a lot
Nice.
of car camping where we would drive out into the like Bodie and go camp, or we just drive out to the Grand Canyon and go camp. And
right.
and those are things you can do in that LJ
Yeah. No,
very easily.
I
Because
agree.
I did it in a Cherokee on 31s.
Nice.
Mhm.
No, yeah, I know. I agree 100%. I mean, and that's kind of why I went towards the LJ instead of like a TJ. Like I kind of debated about getting a TJ, but I'm like, man, that extra room will be wonderful. And so, yeah. And like, I'd love to do all like, if I have to, I'll drive it to Moab, but I'd rather trailer it in that U-Haul.
Yeah.
But anyway, but yeah. So,
Well, cool, man. Yeah, we've been going on an hour and a half now.
oh man.
Do you want to keep going?
If you have more questions, I know I've been talking a lot, but if there's nothing I haven't answered yet,
We didn't
guys
really
can-
have a set of questions.
all right. How
We
long are
just
your
don't
guys'
know.
episodes?
We
these
just
days?
wanted to have you
3.5
on to
hours.
show that we are.
Is there a pee break in the middle, or is that what these funnels are for?
It's once you empty the water cup, you
Yeah.
got to fill it back up
Got
again.
it. All right. Cool.
I blamed it on coffee earlier,
Sure.
but it's not.
Yeah. So
Oh man. Yeah, I don't know. There's nothing really else. There was no real
That's-
set of questions. Just wanted to catch up with
Sure.
you, see what you were up to, see what your plans were for this year, see if we can get you out on some trails at some point this year.
Yeah.
So
no, I definitely like want to get out and go four wheeling. Like my brother and I have had the goals to like meet in Moab every year since he's
Mhm.
moved out, and we've yet to pull it off. I thought we might pull it off last year, but didn't happen. I don't see it happening this year either, but like that's our goal. And like,
I have
don't
a
know.
house in an Airbnb during Cruise Moab that still
really?
needs a couple beds filled.
nice. When is
If you guys
Cruise
are-
Moab?
April 18th.
It's like the third week in April.
Yeah.
April 18th, huh?
Can you get your Jeep done by then?
Probably not. My wife's birthday's in April too. I don't know. Like I had some things, like some financial goals that I have to hit before I can do my Jeep build. And some of them have come to fruition. So I'm really close to like making the leap into something. And
Mhm.
in the grand scheme of things, I've always told my wife too, like, my brother doesn't listen to this show and probably never won't. So like, he's kind of a wild one, which a lot of people understand that.
Uh-huh.
Like part of me is like, I've tried to be the responsible one and like spend money wisely. And I told my wife, like, I'm going to screw off sometime and like do some stupid financial decision. And it's just gonna be one time. And it's probably going to be on the Jeep, but like, just let it go. Right. We'll recover. Like we'll make it through. And so I told her, I'm like, I'm going to buy an axle someday. Like
It's going to happen.
Or
We're going to get
something.
an
Yeah.
800-pound crate show up at
exactly.
the door.
So anyway, but we'll see. I'll tell her like, I don't know. It's the control switch for the AC broke and I bought a new one.
Bought a new axle.
Yeah. But no,
Nice.
yeah. So it's cool. Yeah. So
Mhm.
I hopefully get out and do some trails and all that stuff.
Mhm.
And I don't know. I appreciate you guys letting me come on the show,
Yeah.
talk about whatever. And
It's good to have you
Yeah.
back.
Yeah.
hey,
It's been too
thanks.
long.
Yeah. Maybe this will get the blood flowing again. I'll start my own show.
There you go.
No, I'm just kidding.
Do it.
Yeah. No, I'm just teasing. I'm not starting a new show anytime
Did you-
soon. But we'll see.
You don't need to start a new one. You got
I
to
know.
just revamp the old
I
one.
do.
Mhm.
I
Mhm.
do. Until I got to, I have
And
to,
then if you do that, maybe you can get axle sponsors.
yeah,
Mhm.
again, I
See?
know who doesn't want to sponsor an LJ. I mean, they're like
Right?
the perfect build. to
They're
put the seam
rare.
on, bring the
Nobody
seam
has
on.
them.
Uh-huh.
I know. It is funny. Like,
There's too many of those JLs.
yeah.
The backwards ones.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I might have licked Dexia. Got in my way there. I was all
Yeah.
confused for a second.
Say that word again.
Like Dexia?
Nice. I was so I got to say it right. Cause it is dyslexia,
Dyslexia.
but I always call it less dystic. I had to think about it for a second, but no. So yeah.
See, I think that's a great solution for you.
Mm-hmm.
build a podcast, get some sponsors. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Sponsors are difficult. I don't know if you guys have tried that before, but they, not everybody likes giving stuff away,
No.
No.
especially for like two dudes in a garage or something on
Mhm.
microphones and stuff. But I don't know.
You
It
were
can
able to do
happen.
it before.
We
Mhm.
were, but we had some secret sauce we didn't tell anybody about. No, it's really because there was three of us. All right. So we had Jason, and Jason was like our behind the scenes guy. And it's like, it was funny because when you mentioned starting the podcast again, I almost made a joke about, well, I need to figure out who's paying for the hosting of our podcast currently. Because I don't know who is. And so the fact that like Jason's probably still paying for it and probably doesn't know. So like, I know that he's reached out to me before and like has said like he's going to kill the Lipson account, but then like, I know Tyler volunteered to potentially host it for us as well. And so like, I don't know. So I would love to keep the podcast alive in terms of the content, but you know, and then maybe, like I said, maybe, cause it would be fun. Like even just, you know, if Jeff and I ever did meet in Moab, like we would totally record a show at the end of the day. Like, you know, or if we went with Moab with you guys or whatever, you know, like totally do it. But anyway, so we'll see someday.
Someday.
It's
teasing for a future here.
Yes. And then like, yeah, in about a year, we'll do another podcast about we're coming back. And then we'll
wait another year later.
Really, yeah.
The annual episode.
Yeah. I don't know. There's a lot of good podcasts out there though, that like, even I'm still subscribed to that. Like if they did post a new episode, like I would go listen to them just because like you do build, you know, it's weird being on this end of the microphone, like for you guys as well. Cause like, you don't realize like there are people out there listening and like, they are like, they know you, you know, and like you run into them and they're like, hey, Greg, you know, or whatever. You're like, I'm sorry. Who are you? Like, I listen to the podcast. Like, okay, cool for you. But then like, oh wait, you know so much more about me than I realized. So anyway.
Yeah. I just had that happen to me this last weekend.
Yeah.
Yeah.
First time being recognized. No, just kidding.
They don't really recognize me. They recognize Bobcat.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
They're like, wait, I saw Bobcat this weekend.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, really?
That's funny. Yeah, no, it is weird. So,
yeah. Well, cool, man. Thanks for coming on.
I appreciate
Thanks for making the trip down to the new studio and christening it here with us. And yeah, man, it's been fun. We'll have to get you back on before another 300 episodes here. And
yeah, that's what I was going to ask. When's the next time I get to come on? When double 374? No.
Yeah. We doubled it, Greg.
Yeah.
That's why you're here.
Loser.
Oh man. Yeah. So if people wanted to get in touch with you, say hi. I think we already mentioned your Instagram, Greg Bakken.
Yeah. That Greg Bakken. Yeah. It's probably honestly the best way, or you could hit us up at HS4x4 on Instagram as well. I'd say send us an email, but you really probably won't get through.
Yeah.
And so I give an email, but really won't matter and nobody will remember it. So message me on Instagram is probably the best thing.
Cool. Jimmy, how can people get a hold of you if they have any questions for you?
Yeah, you can find me over at Snail Trail 4x4 on Instagram. You can message Tyler at 4x4 Toyota Tyler. You can also email us, Jimmy or Tyler at snailtrail4x4.com. Or you can phone in at area code 916-345-4744.
That's it. That's all the ways, all of them. So cool. I guess without further ado, I get to put this on Greg now.
Yeah. Put what on me?
Any final words for everybody out there, Greg?
Oh, good question. Man, I didn't even get to think about it.
You had all those years of putting it over onto Jeff.
I know. Any final words? Yeah. And then I'd ask him something. I always wanted to come up with something good, but I don't.
You know, you can pause. There'll be an audio break. I can cut it.
We can put in elevator music for you too. So
even thinking about it, I don't know that I'm going to come up with anything good, but yeah, I don't know.
Dana 50.
No. Next. Yeah. No, my final words. Yeah, let's see. Next time you guys hear from me, I'll have a Jeep built LJ. That's what I'm going to say. So
Jimmy,
call you tomorrow.
And Jimmy, any final words?
I say you have to take your first step forward, and that's going to lead you in the path of how you want to do something.
Wow. Words of wisdom.
Path of righteousness.
That our man who stands on toilet is high on pot.
That's another good one. And with that, my friends, keep crawling.
I got one for you.
Okay.
Do you know what state has mini beverages?
Mini or many?
Tiny.
Tiny beverages. I feel like I should know this. I don't know.
Minnesota.
That's what it was.